Too soon. It was too soon. Our first reading is by Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been. A place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open up to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter, voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free. Our second reading is by James Luther Adams. Church is a place where you get to practice what it means to be human.
A Duke University study found that between 1985 and 2004, the number of people with whom the average American discussed important matters dropped from 3 to 2. Almost 25% of those surveyed said there was no one with whom they could discuss important matters. I don't think this is good for people or for our society. How do you grow as a person if you aren't thinking about important matters at least some of the time and discussing them with other people? What might count as important matters? I think this includes a broad range of topics. Do our lives have a purpose? What does it mean to be a good person? How do I talk to my brother who won't get vaccinated? Should I give money to a homeless person or donate to a shelter or both or neither? Why is this church community important to you? How many people here have someone in their lives with whom they can discuss questions like these, questions that come from the heart and soul? So raise your hands. Yeah, a lot of us have somebody. What about on Zoom? Is anybody raising their hands? Yep, okay. So that's good. We all have someone. But do you want our church to be a place where we do this together? How many people would like that? Yep, okay. Good, I'm really glad. Here is a quote from the UUA Leadership Library. Establishing and maintaining beloved community depends on establishing and maintaining covenantal relationships. We are a covenantal faith. The covenant is our sacred promise of meaningful relationship, which we mutually develop by inquiring into our deeply held values as a community. Let me repeat. The covenant is our sacred promise of meaningful relationship, which we mutually develop by inquiring into our deeply held values as a community. I am inspired by these words and I want to embark on this task. But how do we begin? I think we begin by having conversations with each other, not coffee hour conversations, but deeper conversations, the kind of conversation you remember years later. I had such a conversation at the community organizing training that I went to in January of 2017 when our church first joined Common Ground. I volunteered to participate in a one-on-one conversation in front of the whole class. I sat down with the trainer, Liz Hall, in the middle of a circle of other students. We both sat down. Liz started off by asking me why I was interested in social justice. And right then and there, I had an epiphany. in front of the audience, right there. My interest in social justice goes back to all the stories my father used to tell about growing up very poor in Washington, D.C. When I told Liz that, she said that her father had also grown up quite poor in Texas, and his stories had affected her deeply. We talked about those stories and how they shaped us. That conversation gave me insight into my own values and connected me to Liz in a deep way. Let me share with you some thoughts on UU theology and how it bears on this topic. These quotes are from an essay by Reverend Meg Riley titled Prophetic Congregations in the 21st Century. Our theology is deeply incarnational. Our faith and spirituality are based in earthly, this world, daily engagement with the holy. Each night a child is born is holy, we say, rather than locating holiness only in the birth of Jesus. There is a priesthood of all believers, we say, rather than locating all wisdom in those who are ordained. UUs understand salvation to take place not elsewhere after we are dead, but in our daily choice today in this world. She goes on to say, visionary churches will be places where people come in genuine, full-spirited, embodied contact with one another. Real relationships mean those that go beyond superficial or serial socializing to build authentic community. Reverend Riley also says, congregations must commit to going on tepid, silent, open-door inclusion. They must commit to living engagement with one another, to learning about the complexities of each other's lives, to knowing the vitality difference can offer. I hear Reverend Riley saying that just providing a church service for you to come to is not enough, even if we provide sermons on important topics. I hear that creating a beloved community is work for all UUs. We can't leave it up to the ministers. This is work for all of us. We must commit to learning about the complexities of each other's lives. Let's just sit with that for a minute. Look around at your fellow congregants. Think about the people who are with us on Zoom. We do know things about each other, but I think we can go deeper. We can learn what we each value deeply and why it matters to us. I think that is the way into beloved community. This congregation has been taking small steps towards learning to listen to each other for a number of years. We have had workshops on listening to each other from Reverend Kat Cox, and how to talk respectfully across differences from Dr. Roxy Manning. A group of us study nonviolent communication, a practice of respectful and honest communication, and then led 2 courses on this topic. But it's not as easy as it sounds to do respectful and honest communication. And it can be scary to talk about the stories that have shaped your life. You have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable. You have to be willing to open your heart along with your brain. And there are other pitfalls you use as discussed in this quote from an essay titled When Love Speaks in Public by Kate Lohr. Congregations provide communal environments for discerning core commitments. With discernment, however, comes debate, and Unitarian Universalists often show a lack of love when debating, contributing to our lack of growth in all senses of that word. We act as if congregations are academic rather than covenantal communities. I hear Lenore laughing in the back there. Being part of a covenantal community is not something I learned to do as I was growing up. My parents didn't know how to do this. No one talked about this at not even in graduate school. I am learning how to build such a beloved community here with all of you. This reading by Erica Hewitt gives us a hint of how we might start on this holy project. I don't have anything to say.
Well, I do, but it might not be interesting to anyone.
I have secrets inside of me and struggles, and I don't know if I'm ready to share them.
I want to hear what you have to say.
I want to speak of the deep of the things together.
And I want to hear what you dream about and what you hope for.
I want to know how you have come to arrive at this resting point along your journey.
What if I speak and you don't understand me?
I will listen and listen again until my hearing becomes understanding.
What if I can't find the words to share the world inside of me?
I believe that wise words will emerge from you.
How can I trust you to hold my life stories? You may not even know.
By knowing that as I receive part of your story, I will give you part of mine.
How will this work? What will happen? What awaits us?
We can find out anything by beginning.
So let us begin to listen and trust and to know one another more deeply.
Thank you, Kate. So let's come at this topic from the community point of view. Michael Geekin, a longtime organizer with the Industrial Areas Foundation, and Common Ground is a branch of the IAF, has written several pamphlets on how to do community organizing. Here are some excerpts from a pamphlet called Effective Organizing for Congregational Renewal. Individual meetings are by far the most important, effective, and least used organizational tool in congregational life today. Just as part of organizing includes organizing among the congregations that are members of a community organizing network. So they're really interested in keeping the churches going. An individual meeting is a face-to-face, one-to-one meeting that takes about 30 minutes. The aim of the meeting is to initiate a public relationship with another person. He quotes from the Lutheran theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, "The first service that one owes to others in the fellowship consists of listening to them." Geekin goes on to say, face-to-face meetings are the truly radical acts of effective organizing. The choice to engage in these conversations is based on several assumptions. So again, I quote from Geekin. The first assumption is that the other person is worth listening to. This one-on-one meeting is an act of recognition. You are saying to the other person, you have values, ideas, dreams, plans, lessons, insights that are well worth listening to. The second assumption is that time devoted to individual meetings is more important than time spent in more conventional activities. The congregation lives and grows the interaction between existing and new leaders and members in the very act of the individual meeting. Now, when I read this, I found it a little shocking. I was like, what? This is not how we are used to doing church. We go to services, we serve on committees, we have brief moments of contact at social hour, coffee hour. However, both UU theology and the lessons of community organizing tell us that the old ways of doing church are not sufficient. We are called to add ways to have deeper conversations. Okay, back to Geekin. The third hinted at in the act of doing individual meetings, but only proven over time, is that the corporate identity of the congregation remains in formation, that the newest member, the most recent arrival, is invited to join in the creation of the evolving local community. Here is another idea to pay attention to. Our community is always in formation, always evolving. Our newest members join us in creating our community. This means these one-on-one meetings need to be a regular feature of our congregational life. Relational meetings are an aspect of community organizing that we have not emphasized enough in Common Ground. We are now working to fix that. I just went to a Common Ground training for Napa leaders on how to use one-on-one meetings to strengthen our congregations, because we are all struggling, believe me, we are not the only congregation struggling. We talked about how to do them, and then we practiced, and I got to do one with Reverend Cindy Beck. She's the interim minister for the Napa Valley Lutherans, and she is fun. The Methodists were very excited to tell us about a house meeting they held in November where they dived into relational meetings. They practiced with these two questions. What have you experienced during the pandemic? And what has become more precious to you? And I was talking to one of their young staff members. And asking him, how did it go? He said, well, people were nervous, but he was surprised how quickly actually they settled into these conversations and really got going. And he was pleased that people were willing to mix it up and do a one-on-one with someone that wasn't in their usual social circle within the church. So, okay. Kate and I are now going to be very brave and demonstrate a brief one-on-one meeting right here in front of you.
This has not been scripted.
It has not been scripted. Yep. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Crazy.
So Kate, I do know a little bit of your story, that you came here partly for your kids, and that you heard about UU while you were riding an exercise bike at the gym. Is that right?
It is. I was an audio book, Raker 12 Singularity.
Oh, you're kidding. It was in that book?
It's in the intro, I think. I never finished the book, so it must have been early on. And he was talking about his parents having left Europe during the Nazi reign and seeking a better life in America, and how they took that experience of intolerance and found UU in America, and were seeking, because they wanted their kids to have this sort of religious education. And so I thought, wow, me too, I'm seeking that too. And so I Googled UU.
And here we are.
There turned out to be one in Napa.
Yeah.
Kind of lucky.
Yeah, well, we are very, very good that you joined us. And I would like to know, because you're a mom of 2 small children, you're on the board of your nursery school. Yeah, so you're pretty darn busy. I remember being the mom of 2 small children. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So, but you're still giving us a lot of time and talent. And I just wondering, why is it, you could just come, but you're actually not just coming, you're participating. So why?
So part of this answer is because of what I found here when I first arrived a few years ago. I came because of the kids, but I don't experience what they experience in RE, and what I experience is here with everyone, and that was not what I showed up for, and it was unexpectedly so lovely to have, as a young mom, I'm really busy, and I could sit down and relax and give my brain to some thoughts that I wouldn't maybe not have come to on my own. So I found that really meditative and calming, and I was able to really renew. And so, then time passes, and it hasn't been like that in a long time. I think a lot of us felt like we haven't had that in a long time. And I had to leave my job because of childcare issues, and so I ended up feeling like I missed that, and there's the potential for that to come back, if we keep it going, and it sort of brought my attention to the potential of of this place, of this congregation, and of this building, and of, we don't have a minister, and there's potential there. Like, I think I see a lot of opportunity to create what this community is together, and I want to be a part of that. That's kind of how I've always gravitated towards being, in the theater group, and, being part of the creator team. I like to be creative, and this community offered me that, the respite and the calm and the meditation, and now it also offers this opportunity to be creative and to build something.
Wow. I am really grateful that is one of the things that is driving you, because creativity is such a gift. I really am grateful. And yeah. So.
Well, I'm grateful to be a part of this community.
Yeah, I like being on a team.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily that creative, but I really enjoy,
the camaraderie
and the being, I can support someone who's creative, and so yeah.
Well, it's also become increasingly apparent to me in the past few months, anyway, that it's easy to have every idea and to go in all the directions and to get very spread thin, and so that's something that's a little bit of a struggle, but I feel like it's the flip side of the coin. The nice part of that is that I feel so invited to everything here. I feel like everyone's very welcome. Just, everyone wants input and wants to listen and wants to be a part of it. So that feels really good to me. It's nice to be a part of this kind of vibe.
I'm really glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kate.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We are struggling right now as a church, and all churches are. And we need to figure out together how to move forward. We need to rethink how we do church, because the old way isn't working very well. I think that we will find a more relational culture will serve us well in many ways. It will help us create a beloved community that is more loving and more enriching for each of us. And this will be something to offer to the larger community, something that people can't find anywhere else. Yeah. I think that will help us grow.